All right, let's get into it. We're about to uncover some of the most lucrative and, frankly, wildest professions out there. We're talking about the jobs paying insane money that fly completely under the radar. So, when you picture a six-figure salary, what pops into your head? A doctor, right? Maybe a lawyer, a tech exec? It's kind of a standard list. But what if I told you that the real money, the truly life-changing paychecks, are often hiding in places you would never, ever think to look? Yeah, because we're about to blow those assumptions right out of the water. Okay, here's our game plan for this. We're going to start with jobs where the stakes are literally life and death. Then we'll dive into the new digital frontier. After that, we'll look at careers where danger is pretty much in the job description. And finally, we'll meet the invisible experts behind the products you probably use every single day. First up, the high-stakes watchers. These are the people paid a fortune to basically be a human insurance policy for situations where the absolute worst-case scenario is just one tiny mistake away. What's so wild here is the parallel between these two roles. On one hand, you've got a nuclear reactor operator sitting in a control room, making sure a city doesn't, become a wasteland. On the other, you have a cardiovascular perfusionist in an OR, literally controlling a patient's heart and lungs during open heart surgery. A kink in their tube? That's brain damage in 3 minutes. Both jobs are long stretches of just calm, intense monitoring, but they get paid for the one moment everything goes horribly wrong. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? They're not paid for the 99% of the time they're just watching dials. Nope. They're paid for that critical 1%, that moment when they have to know exactly what to do to stop a catastrophe. Your entire salary is based on how you perform in the worst possible moment. All right, let's switch gears and jump from the physical world into the digital one. We're talking about jobs that, honestly, didn't even exist a few years ago, but are now some of the most sought after and highest paying roles in all of tech. So, an AI prompt engineer. This is not just someone typing questions into ChatGPT. No way. Think of them as more of a translator between our messy human way of thinking and the cold, hard logic of an AI. They design these complex logic puzzles to basically trick the AI into being smarter, safer, and more useful. They're stress testing thousands of variations just to get that perfect result. And in the middle of this AI gold rush, what's a skill like that worth? Well, AI Lab Anthropic was advertising a role with a top-end salary of $335,000 a year. It's a field where the barrier to entry isn't a fancy degree. It's having this kind of hybrid brain, someone with the logic of a coder but the nuance of a writer. Now, let's talk about another kind of hacker. In this world, there are basically two sides to the coin. You have the black hats, those are the villains, breaking into systems for criminal gain. But then you have the white hats. They're the good guys. Companies like Google and Apple, they pay them to be the bad guy first, to find all the security flaws before the real criminals can. And they pay them well, oh yeah. In just 1 year, Google paid out over $10 million in what they call bug bounties, basically rewards for hackers who find vulnerabilities in their systems. It's this whole industry that respects skill above everything else, where teenagers have literally become millionaires from their bedrooms by legally breaking into the biggest companies on Earth. Okay, enough with the keyboards. Let's get our hands dirty. This next section is for the adrenaline junkies. We're talking about jobs where physical danger isn't a bug, it's a feature, and it's directly tied to the size of your paycheck. First on the list, the underwater welder. Now, that title's a bit of a misnomer. It's really more like being an underwater construction worker. Welding is just one part of it. One day, you could be on a massive oil rig out in the Gulf of Mexico, and the next, you could be diving into a sewage treatment plant with zero visibility, finding everything purely by feel. So why the big money? Forget sharks, seriously. That's the least of their worries. They're worried about something called delta P, a sudden pressure change so powerful it can literally pull a human body through a 4-inch pipe. They worry about the bends from coming up too fast, and even a long-term risk of osteonecrosis, where the pressure actually kills the bones in their joints. To deal with this, they live in these pressurized chambers for 28 days at a time. It's intense. Now, for a danger you probably passed every single day without a second thought: elevators. The fatality rate for the people who install and repair them is a staggering 2.5 times higher than for the average construction worker. They're part electrician, part iron worker, and they're often working on temporary platforms hundreds of feet up inside a dark shaft. Higher risk, higher reward. And if that's not enough of an adrenaline rush for you, how about this one? This quote perfectly captures the wild world of the airplane repo agent. And yes, it is exactly what it sounds like. So, when a millionaire defaults on their private jet, the bank doesn't just send a letter. No, they send a specialist. Their job is to track down the plane, break in, bypass security, fire up the engines, and fly it out of whatever country it's in before anyone can stop them. For repossessing a single multi-million-dollar jet, they can walk away with a commission of $500,000. It's a freelance gig where if you fail, you pay for everything yourself and get absolutely nothing. Okay, for our final section, let's explore a world that's all around us, but is completely hidden from view. These are the highly paid experts who create the things we taste and smell every single day. Ever wonder where the flavor for your favorite energy drink or potato chip actually comes from? It comes from a flavorist. These are highly trained chemists who work for a handful of massive, pretty secretive flavor houses. So when a brand like McDonald's wants a new strawberry milkshake flavor, they don't make it themselves. They send a request to these flavor companies, and the flavorists all compete to create the perfect formula. The reason this job pays so much really comes down to scarcity. After you get your science degree, you have to complete a grueling 7-year apprenticeship. A 7-year apprenticeship. Because the training is so intense, there are fewer than 500 certified flavorists in the entire United States. They're this tiny, elite group of people who have memorized thousands of chemical smells and can basically clone almost any flavor on the market. So after looking at nuclear operators, AI whisperers, underwater welders, and flavor scientists, what's the common thread here? Well, it boils down to this. These jobs reward incredibly specific, niche skills that can't be just easily taught. They all involve incredibly high stakes, whether that's preventing a meltdown, stopping a cyber attack, or just, stealing back a $50 million jet. And obviously, none of them are your typical 9 to 5. Ultimately, this whole thing brings up a really fundamental question about work, right? What unique pressure, what specific risk, or what obscure piece of knowledge are you willing to master? Because it really seems like the biggest rewards are found far, far away from the beaten path. So the only question left is, what's your price?